Welcome to the inaugural episode of Voices of Impact with Dr. E, the podcast that celebrates the leaders, innovators, and changemakers shaping our world for better. I'm your host, Dr. Eva Kleczek, healthcare executive, best-selling author, public speaker, philanthropist, and advocate for empowerment and equity. Each week, I will sit down with inspiring guests to explore their journeys, lessons learned, and the moments that define true impact. Together, we'll uncover what it means to lead with purpose, create change, and elevate the voices that move us forward. This is Voices of Impact with Dr. E. I can't think of a better way to start this journey for my podcast than with my first guest, Ramat Oyetunji. Ramat is an accomplished author, financial advisor, coach, and business strategist who is passionate about helping others take control of their financial futures, build meaningful and sustainable success. Today, she's here to share some hard truths about business, the kind of insights that challenge us, inspire us, and help us grow. Ramat is also a guest that I specifically chose because her and I have known each other for many years and went to University of Maine together, lived in the same dorm. So it's such a pleasure to have someone like her join me. Ramat, welcome to Voices of Impact with Dr. E. I'm so excited to kick off this series with you. Welcome, Ramat.
Hi, Eva. Thank you so much. What an amazing introduction. And I'm so excited to be your first guest. Like you said, we've known each other for so many years, and it has been amazing and inspiring to watch you on your journey. And so I would say that if there was anyone who really needs to be celebrated for their accomplishments, it's definitely you. And I love that you're doing this podcast where we get to see other leaders and hear their inspiring stories. So thank you for having me.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for the kind words. So, Ramat, you've been having quite a journey, and a journey that has taken you to many different places, from engineering to being now a financial advisor. So for our listeners and our viewers, would you mind introducing yourself and talk about your journey and talk about the career pivots that you have done along the way and how you landed there and what inspired you to make these changes and help others with their finances?
Oh, thank you. All right. So I might take up the entire 40 minutes if I was just talking about. So you're going to have to stop me. So let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Ramat Oyetunji. I am the founder of the FI Woman. I founded this in 2015. And the inspiration for that came from an experience when I first graduated from the University of Maine. I fortunately landed a job. And at that time, there was so much going on with the economy. It was in 2001. So I was very fortunate to land a job. Unfortunately, by 2002, many of us were laid off. So the economy was struggling. The internet and tech stock market bust. And then, of course, the war, 9/11 and the war in Iraq. So there was a lot going on. And I found myself without a job. And at the time, I was still on a foreign visa. So I had to go back to school. So I went back to grad school and started working on a master's degree in engineering. So that experience really shaped my thought about finances. But engineering has always been kind of my love, and that's what my undergrad degree is in. Mm-hmm. So I went back to school for engineering. So my first pivot was when I went from engineering to MBA, to getting an MBA instead. And at the time, I was struggling with, I was telling my husband, Jake, that the books we read, in my final year were the same books we were picking up for my first year of grad school. and it all just seemed so boring. And then he said, well, you got a minor in business. Why don't you get a master's in business? Mm-hmm. I had such a one-track mind about being in engineering and being an engineer. It never even occurred to me to do anything else. So I credit my husband for that first pivot from engineering, my master's in engineering, mm-hmm. to getting a master's in business. So that was the first pivot. But most of my career has been in various engineering roles and working for large companies like Merck, I had the opportunity to go into supply chain, to do engineering, manufacturing, quality, so many different things. So along the way, I've been very fortunate to have all these small pivots in my career, which has really shaped a global mindset for me when it comes to seeing the world, seeing business, and also navigating your career and your journey. There's definitely no fixed point. I'm sure you know that too. You know, there's no
Absolutely.
fixed point, right? Even when you think you know what you want to
Mm-hmm.
do. And then my very major shift was when I left um, my career, which was pretty successful, and became an entrepreneur. So now that was huge. And let me tell you, it doesn't matter how prepared you think you are,
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurship is such a challenge. It can be very rewarding, but it's such a challenge. And so that's the journey I'm on now. I've been on it for about 4 years. And I would say it's exciting, it's challenging. I'm learning every single day.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you. I think for our listeners and our viewers, they probably learned a lot from thinking about it. How do we navigate our careers and also taking those turns that you don't expect? That's a definitely what gives us that global mindset. And it's funny that you say that because I think a lot of people think that, oh, I'm going to be doing one thing for the rest of my
Right.
life. And the reality, especially right now with AI coming, it's the pivoting is very quick now. You have to pivot and adjust and adapt as quickly as you can and take the opportunities as they are coming in and really celebrate them and take and learn from them. Then the other piece that I want to mention is for those who are starting up or thinking about being an entrepreneur, it is a journey, quite a journey. And I've known Ramat and I've seen her, and it's quite impressive of where she started and where she is right now. And so we will dive in that in a few more minutes. But before we go there, Ramat, I do want to connect about you being an author. You wrote quite a few books, 5 of them. They are available on Amazon for those who would like to check them out. And but I would like to understand what inspired you to write your first book, 50 Shades of Green, that became quite a great book for many women to be thinking about their financial freedom. And that's ultimately what sparked your business as well. So can you talk to us a little bit about that book and your inspiration behind?
Oh, that's such a great place to start because that I consider that book, that first book, my baby. And I'm sure you feel the same way
Yeah,
about your book that you've written, and I'm
absolutely.
sure you're going to write a lot more, right? But the first one is always very special. So, the inspiration for the book, I was looking for simple ways to help women understand the stock market. And it's not that women don't understand the stock market or men perfectly understand it, but I wanted to especially target women as a way for growing wealth and becoming financially independent. So, women are known to be very sound financial managers, but we tend to be a little more risk averse. And so
Mm-hmm.
because of that, we play it a little safer and we're more likely to put our money in a savings account than to invest it.
Yep.
So coming with that mindset, I wanted to write something that made investing understandable, easy to imagine, and a little bit fun. I mean, I don't want to like put it out there that investing is fun because it's not a game, but I tried to make it a little bit fun. And while I was mulling the idea over, the book 50 Shades of Grey was a
Mm-hmm.
huge hit. And everybody, not even the movie, but the book, right? Everybody
Mm-hmm.
was like reading it. And I was thinking, like, hey, if so many women, because it was mostly women reading this book,
Mm-hmm.
if so many women can spend their time reading 50 Shades of Grey, then they should read 50 Shades of Green on how to build wealth. So that kind of like solidified it a little bit for me, like, putting all those ideas together and then giving it at that time what was a catchy name
Mm-hmm.
to help, like, hey, if you pick up 50 Shades of Grey, also pick up 50 Shades of Green, right? And so that's how that book came about. And thank you so much for the kind words about saying how it has helped so many other people, because I've gotten that feedback as well, where people said, oh my gosh, it was so easy to read. It was really interesting. And it made the stock market sound a little less
Mm-hmm.
scary, which was
Yep.
my goal all along. So that was how that first book came about.
Well, that's great, and thank you for the explanation and the inspiring story behind it. And I just want to say is, especially for women, we need to democratize and make it accessible to understand finances. Because I'm with you, I think many women are a little bit more risk averse. That's because they often not only care for their families, for their kids, but also elderly. So they want to make sure that they have enough money. And we all know that women tend to live longer than men. So I think your story about investing and making it more accessible and understandable to many women, it's very empowering because savings clearly will not give you the same return,
That's
while
right.
investing smartly and with the goal in mind of longevity, financial independence, it's really important knowing the longer journey that many of us will have compared to our male counterparts. So
Yes.
Ramat, thank you so much for this, for the information and how we are running through and how we are explaining finances. Let's now shift to your business, the FI Woman, and talk to you about it, how from your book you created entire business and now you have helped nearly 200 individuals and or even more probably, and now you are shifting into helping corporate or organizations to make sure that those employees, the employees that are employed at the organizations, can also benefit from understanding how to navigate financial environment, especially when there is a lot of change. We all know that
Yes.
market goes up and down, so it makes it sometimes scary for many individuals. So Ramat, let's start. How did you move from the book to your business?
Thank you. So the book and the business idea, I would say, almost came about together. But then the book was the first focus, and I really never thought about what a business could look like. So when I first started the FI Woman, it was with the idea of continuing with the book by helping giving women advice on investing. So I was very narrowly focused. When I first launched the FI Woman, it was launched as a registered investment advisory firm,
Mm-hmm.
which means, you're a licensed investment advisor and you can give people advice on investments as well as help them invest their money. So that was my initial goal. And once I started working with people, I realized that even before, although investing is very important, it's only a small part of our finances. Because if someone says, I want to invest $1,000, but they're hemorrhaging money from poor cash flow management,
Mm-hmm.
or they are racking up debt at an alarming rate, then investing is not the first step.
Mm-hmm.
And so once I started working with different people and understanding people's mindsets and the dynamics with money, I realized that I had to go beyond just investing. And that's how I shifted from focusing on just talking about investing to talking about financial planning and financial wellness. And actually, I didn't even get to financial wellness until I retired. And the story behind that is I'd been so focused since that experience of getting laid off. I'd
Mm-hmm.
been so focused on ensuring that I was financially independent so that if anything were to ever happen to me like that again, I would not be scrambling, right? So I was so focused on that, I had all these milestones that I was hitting for my finances. And once I hit that number that I felt comfortable enough to retire and go full time into my own business, it was kind of like, okay, now what? Because I'd been so focused on financial planning and financial management and investing and budgeting and all of that. And that's when I started thinking more about financial wellness, because financial wellness is more than just accumulating money or hitting financial milestones. It's also, how are you feeling about your financial
Mm-hmm.
decisions, right? How secure are you feeling? Someone with $1 million might feel financially insecure, while someone with less can actually feel more secure, right? And so that's where financial wellness came into place. So this year, I celebrated my 10th anniversary of the FI Woman.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I pivoted from the one to one coaching, which I found incredibly rewarding, to now doing more group coaching as well as working with corporations and businesses to bring financial wellness workshops to their organization. And the idea behind that is, like you said, there's so much change in the air, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's so much uncertainty. People are stressed. So they say one of the number one stressors people bring to work is finances,
Mm-hmm.
worries about their finances. And that can impact anyone from a high earner to someone who's making minimum wage, right? Like there are all these different levels and layers. So bringing financial wellness workshops that teach mindsets, habits, and actions to take around your finances to help you feel secure and to help you build that financial confidence. That's what I'm focused on now. So that's my second big pivot, right? From the one-to-one financial coaching to doing more of the group and corporate financial wellness workshops.
I think this is a quite an incredible story, and I want to mention that very often, to your point, it doesn't matter what is the current level that individuals are earning. If they don't have the right habits, they cannot
Yes.
create the lasting wealth. And to your point, some people might be earning $1 million a year, but still be in a shaky situation financially and really dependent on that one stream of income. Others might be living um, just basic salaries as basic wage and have a quite a comfortable life because the decisions that they have made and the investments that they have made and the decision for living reasonably and to their means in order to sustain financial independence. The other piece that I want to mention that we often don't talk about is that it's not only about financial wealth, and I think you mentioned this, is the entire system of where do we want to be in certain parts of our lives. So I know that you started Circle for group sessions where individuals can be talking about their fears, their thoughts. So can you talk to us about what the wellness, the not only financial wellness, but pretty much putting all of the pieces together is so important in driving ultimately financial wellness at the end.
Absolutely, you are so right. And the group that you're talking about is every month, every first Sunday of the month, I host what's called Financial Wellness Conversations.
Mm-hmm.
And funny because yesterday was the first Sunday of November, so I had a session. And a lot of our conversation was around, for example, someone who is approaching retirement, but now all of a sudden there are layoffs. And some of that uncertainty drove her to look closer at, all right, what are some of the healthcare needs that I need? Where do I want to settle for retirement? So all of these were not money questions. They were more about what's my lifestyle going to
Mm-hmm.
look like? What are the things that are going to make me feel healthy and comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that money doesn't come into the picture, it does. But the very first things that we think about are how am I going to feel comfortable and secure? And then once we have that clarity, we can now start seeing, okay, how does the money fit into this? How does the money enable me to get these things I want? Right. So it's not
Absolutely.
really about just the money and, oh, I want $1 million. Nobody really wants $1 million to go to bed with and to
Mm-hmm.
hug at night, right? It's more,
Absolutely.
I want to be able to live a comfortable life with my family. I want to be able to travel and relax. I want to be, so those are all the things. So in those conversations that we've been having, we're talking about different mindsets. We're talking about how at certain points, we start to feel more mindful about the things
Mm-hmm.
we spend on. So someone who said that she really loves to travel, and for someone else, it might be like, hey, travel is not important to me, so don't spend on that. But for someone who travel is important to, they will plan their money to spend towards that because it brings them joy. So that's part of that whole financial wellness is that we're doing the things that bring us the lifestyle we want, that bring us the joy that we want, and not the things that we feel we should be doing or the things that we feel everybody else is doing it, so I should do it too. Right? That's not going to bring you any joy, and that's not financial wellness. That actually causes financial anxiety, right?
Yeah, I'm with you, Ramat. These are quite important and wise words to to think about is really what is your priority. And those priorities are going to
Yes.
change throughout life. If you have a family, maybe at first it's making sure you have enough money to send your kids to college or to do sports, whatever they are doing. Then when you might be later in life, might be supporting your community and participating on boards and donating money and writing a book, whatever that might be, whatever that future is for you at the given point in time. I think
Right.
it is important to bring this in and align, like you're saying, align the finances to this and plan for it. Put it in your budget and say, this
Exactly.
is 20% I'm going to spend every single year on travel because that's what I want to do. That's how my lifestyle
Yes.
should be. Or
Right.
20% I'm going to do because I want to start a business. So I'm doing this right now, investing so I can get a long-term benefit in the future. And I think that's where what I love about your organization is really giving a rounded view of what financial wellness is, that it's not only investing, but it's really thinking of the priorities and then
Yes.
living according to those and making that commitment. I do want to mention that there's always commitment. Once
Yes.
you do something, you have to stay consistent in order to be successful, regardless whether it's financial, career, or personal life. You have to be consistent with this and remain there. So Ramat, this was very interesting and great points for our listeners, and hopefully many women, especially women listening to us, they will look up your organization and see how they can engage with you.
Exactly.
As we are finalizing our discussion, I wanted to ask you, so where are you headed next? How are you going to develop with your organization, or maybe personally, what it is that is important to you as you are thinking about your next step and the potential next pivot outside of the one that you just made for your organization?
Oh, that's such a great question. And something that might kind of betray the entrepreneur in me is it's funny that you make the distinction between what's next for your organization or what's next for you personally.
Mm-hmm.
And I realize that I feel like me and the organization are one. I
Good
mean, that
point.
might
Good
not be
point.
a good thing. That might not be a good thing. But at this stage of my journey, it seems like every forward thinking thing I have is about the organization because it's almost like it's me and I'm
Mm-hmm.
it, right? At least for now, right? And so one of the things that I'm looking forward to is developing curriculum, financial literacy curriculums for schools as well as for young adults. One of the books that I published was with my daughter Nadia, and we published it maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and it's about kids and money. And since then, we did a summer camp for kids where we taught them some very basic financial literacy. And then earlier this year, I created an entire curriculum for an elementary school on entrepreneurship and financial
Mm-hmm.
literacy. So that's kind of like a new venture, which I'm excited about because I think the more we can start people thinking about finances from when they're young, the better. And it's not as if we're trying to make children focused on money. That's not it, right? It's more that entrepreneurial thinking is necessary even if you're not an entrepreneur, right? Even in your career, even if you're working for somebody else, you still need that kind of mindset of looking at the big picture, being able to analyze different things. And I think that's what I'm excited about doing next. So it's going to be new, it's exciting. I'm looking forward to it.
I I'm really speechless, and I really love this because I think we often forget that part of a successful adulthood is understanding financial wellness. And the earlier we do teach our kids about it, the more informed and ready for adulthood they are. And
Yes.
the same way as we teach them literature, mathematics, biology, chemistry, physics, art, and um, put them into sports, I think we have to
Mhm.
add it to the rounded individual success, having financial understanding and being able to navigate it. Not
Yes.
many people realize, and I'm sure you coach many of the young people that you might be working with, that if you start investing the $25 a month at a very early age, or for the parents to start doing when the child is born, you can have a quite a amount of money very early
Right.
on, because it's all of the compound interest. And I think understanding those aspects and increasing the literacy in financial environment, I think is very important, especially as we are going into the new changes that are happening with
Right.
AI and the probably scary news that individuals are hearing about what may happen, how the workforce is going to be changing. So I really
Right.
applaud you for this, and I
I
think
appreciate it.
we couldn't have a better thought for our young people than them understanding how to invest wisely and
And
where to start.
oh,
Mm-hmm.
wait, I was going to also
Yeah.
add, Eva, that, and it doesn't even have to start with investing, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
even the very basic of having your child know a budget, right?
Sure.
Or even talking to them about money. So
Mm-hmm.
my daughter gets an allowance, and sometimes let's say she gets $10 and she wants to buy something that's $10. And then one time she said, "Oh, sorry, mom, can you give me 50 cents? I forgot about
Yeah.
taxes." Right?
Yeah.
This is kind of basic,
Mm-hmm.
but it's important. It's a good lesson for them to
Absolutely.
learn young, because then they understand how money works. They understand about budgeting. So next time, if you have $10, don't go for something that's $10. Go for something that's
Exactly.
$9.50, because you have
It's
to pay
yeah.
taxes,
I'm
right?
I really love that. I do think that many young people, many students do not know how to budget, and I think we need to learn it very early, because that's what creates financial independence in the future. Because you know how to
Yes,
allocate your money, regardless what your priorities are, and
right.
regardless how big or how small your earnings are. Because I think it's all about
Exactly.
budgeting and living within the means and living to the priorities we all have, short term and long term. Um,
Yes.
Ramat, so this was a wonderful discussion. I hope our viewers and listeners have learned a lot and enjoyed. And for those of you who are listening, knowing both Ramat and I, hope that gave you additional insights on our friend here. So thank you so much. Ramat, for those who might want to connect with you now, they got inspired by your journey and your personal achievements, as well as would like to talk to you about finances and get some guidance, or maybe those who want to have you to do workshop, how do they get in touch with you? Where do they find you?
Oh, that's great. Thank you for saying that, Eva. So the best way to reach me is on LinkedIn. My name, Ramat Oyetunji, that's my personal page. And then I also have my business page, The FI Woman, both on LinkedIn. And on Instagram, it's also The FI Woman. And for anyone who wants to contact me by email, I'm happy to share my email address. It's very simple, ramat at thefiwoman.com.
Well, thank you so much, Ramat. We will post all of this into this podcast, so the information will be in for anyone who is
Thanks.
viewing it afterwards and would like to reach out to Ramat. With that, I am again, thank you so much for joining, Ramat. What a pleasure has been to have you here. We learned so much about financial independence, your own journey of pivoting and from being from engineer to becoming a financial advisor. So if today's episode moved you, inspired you, or made you think differently, please share it with someone who could use a little impact into your day. To learn more about our guests, upcoming episodes, and the mission behind Voices of Impact, follow me on social media at Voices of Impact with Dr. E on Facebook, and look out for more stories that empower change. And remember, your voice has power, your story matters, and together we can create a world of impact. Until next time, I'm Dr. E. Stay inspired and keep making a difference.